Good morning, Hayom Yom, Tes Vuv Tammuz. So the fifth Chabad Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, was once discussing the relationship between the body and the soul. And he was saying that even though the body and the soul are complete opposites, the body is a completely physical being. All it connects to and all it relates to is the physical experiences, the sensual experiences. The only way the body could relate to anything in the world is through its five senses, through the five physical senses. And the soul is a completely spiritual being, a completely non-physical being. It relates to things in an emotional way and in an intellectual way. It doesn't relate to things through the five senses. They're two opposite beings that relate to things in very, very different ways. They can't really relate to each other. Yet, although they each live in their own world, so to speak, Hashem made an incredible thing. He fused the body and the soul together. He married them and he fused them together and made them into one unit, one being. And because of that, the experiences of the body and what the body is going through can greatly impact and affect the soul. And the experiences of the soul, what the soul is experiencing and going through, can greatly impact and affect the body. And if our bodies are physically in pain, something's hurting us physically, or there's something's happening with the body, that can actually affect us, emotionally and mentally. We might not be able to think straight, or it might mess with us emotionally. And when our bodies are physically very comfortable, very relaxed, that will expand our minds and expand our hearts. And as well, that works vice versa. When the soul is really, really happy, there's something to be really, really happy about, your body will feel lighter, your body will feel stronger, your body will feel better. When your soul is very depressed or very down, or something's hurting you emotionally or mentally, something's hurting you spiritually, something's hurting you within, that will have effects on your physical body. Suddenly your physical body might feel weak or start breaking down. And there's this relationship basically between the body and the soul. They affect each other. Then the Rebbe Rashab said that in a few places it says that when a person becomes very, very happy, that can cause the physical body to become fat, to actually become fatter and to expand. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it releases a hormone that makes the body fat, I don't know. But that's what it says. And the Gemara even says a story about Emperor Vespasian, how he once heard really, really good, incredible news that made him really, really happy, and that actually made him swell and become fatter. And again, the point is, generally, we need to eat physical food for our bodies to be healthy, to become fatter, to get fat. But the soul is able to nourish the body to a certain extent. The soul and the body have this relationship that when the soul receives good news, that can actually, sometimes when it's really, really extreme good news that really affects the soul in a powerful way, that can actually physically benefit and physically affect the body as well. And the Rebbe Rashab said that it is possible for a person, for the Jewish soul, for the neshama, to feel such intense joy in, to find such intense pleasure and joy in Hashem to the point that it would make your body physically fat. That's what intense joy, that level of joy a Jew is able to feel for Hashem, where your body would actually become fat. And he says, what allows us as Jews to feel this powerful, intense joy to that degree, it's possible through Chassidus. If you really, really study and connect with Chassidus in the right way, you will be able, it's possible for a person technically to have and experience such joy in Hashem, such pleasure in Hashem, find such pleasure in Hashem to the point that they will physically become fat. And he says we find this by Reb Nachum Chernobyler, one of the great Hasidic masters. So it says he said Amen Yehei Rabbah with such joy. He was like a kid in a candy shop when he said the words Amen Yehei Rabbah. He was so happy when he did it. He was connecting with Hashem in such a powerful way. He found such joy in those words that he physically became a very fat man. Not because he ate a lot, but because he connected with Hashem very powerfully when he said Amen Yehei Rabbah. And he was able to do that because of the Hasidic way of life that he followed and the Chassidus that he studied. And the Rebbe once talked about this in a similar concept. And the Rebbe says that Chassidus demands of us Jews to feel such intense love and fear and respect for Hashem that it should actually translate and affect us physically. It should affect our physical bodies. It should become really real. And he shared two stories. Story number one was with the first Rebbe, with the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe. And 1 year in Tishrei, so by the prayers, the Alter Rebbe was saying the words, V'chein tein pachtecha. And he says when he came to those words, so his body had a really, really intense, strong physical reaction. And he started he started rolling on the floor, and his body reacted very strongly. And physically, even suddenly, he became like locked in his mouth, and he couldn't get out the words. He was just saying pach, 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 pach. He couldn't let out the words, and his body was shaking all over the place and rolling all over the place. And then the second story was with the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Chabad Rebbe. So he was once at a Farbrengen, and he poured himself a full glass of 96% alcohol. And he downed the glass, and then he poured himself a second full glass, and he downed it again, and then he poured himself a third glass. And it says the Tzemach Tzedek did not show the slightest sign of being tipsy at all. He was completely sober. And the Tzemach Tzedek explained that the way that was possible was because he was thinking then very intensely about Hashem. And he was thinking about Hashem so intensely that he was gripped with tremendous awe and respect and fear for Hashem. And that kept him sober, that sobered him and didn't allow his body to become drunk. Because like if you're drunk but suddenly someone starts shooting a machine gun, you'd become sober very quickly. That adrenaline, that fear would hit you. And he said he literally was thinking about Hashem so intensely, and it was so real to him, that's how much his neshama was connecting with Hashem, that he was in fear of him in that moment, and that physically affected his physical body and did not allow him to become drunk. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.